I have a buddy who works in the criminal investigation department. As he said, it's the shittiest job in the world. It's even worse than being on patrol. And it consists of searching for missing persons. The professional name for a missing person is a lostie. And this is what he told me about the harsh everyday life of a cop. This is not a snot spreading, watching programs wait for me, looking for you, etc. In Russia about 200,000 statements about missing people are written per year. This is now, in peacetime. Every year about 100,000 people go missing. That is, they are found, alive or dead, and identified by those who wrote the missing persons report, or the lost persons themselves declare that they are them. The question is, where do the other 100,000 go? I will warn right away, I will only write about those who are missing and have been reported to the police by relatives, colleagues, etc. I read the statistics published on the internet myself, and there are other numbers. I believe my friend, because he says, all published statistics are false, unreliable, and do not reflect anything, which is needed only by the officials at headquarters. The main groups of missing persons who are not found are, missing suddenly for no apparent reason. Went hunting, fishing, hiking, etc., quarreled with the other half and went out to clear their head. Left home. People who drink, are mentally unhealthy, prone to memory loss, drug addicts, etc. As a rule, near the end of life, if they are not found, they end up in the crematorium as unidentified. Ran away from the orphanage, disappeared, but there are reasons to believe they are involved in something bad, big debts, member of a criminal group, etc. Disappeared in a war zone or natural disaster. Or, homeless. Approximately half of the missing refer to the first item. Missing suddenly for no apparent reason. 50,000 people a year go missing suddenly, for no apparent reason. For the rest, the question of why they aren't found I won't consider. Everything is more or less clear. From the words of a friend, which is remembered in detail, I will tell you how people disappear suddenly, for no apparent reason. In the morning, a mother of 2 children took one child to kindergarten and the other to school, and got into a minibus. She did not report for work. It takes 5 minutes and 100 meters to walk from the bus stop to work. She was gone for a day and then the next. She vanished into thin air. Her husband was interrogated thoroughly, all her relatives, schoolmates, and ex-boyfriends. All the numbers that passed through her cell phone were interviewed. They searched the whole apartment, nothing. The woman just disappeared. And no leads. Passengers in the minibus remember her, they all go to the same places every day. She got out of the Gazelle and disappeared. She worked as a low-ranking official in the regional administration. Or here. There lived a guy. Wife, kid. Everything's great. He earns decent money. He had a new Ford Mondeo. Apartment in a new house, bought without a mortgage. In the morning, he took the elevator down to the underground parking lot, got into his Ford Mondeo and drove to work. Didn't make it to work. His Ford was found halfway to work a few days later. Parked by the curb. The car showed no signs of struggle, no signs of violence, robbery, etc. The car was running, keys in the ignition, but already running out of gas. There was a laptop in the car, a cell phone charged from the cigarette lighter. No emergency lights, no blinking lights. Car was in working order. All the bushes, garages, basements in the area were searched with dogs. Nothing. The man is not a business owner, just a middle manager. A lot of their income, to buy a house and a car, comes from renting out housing. The wife has 3 apartments from her parents and grandparents, left as an inheritance. The wife is a doctor at a military hospital. Credit cards were not blocked on purpose, there were no transactions on them, none whatsoever. Or here is more. Here is a general horror story. A young mother went to the dairy store to get some cottage cheese and milk. The child was a little under a year old. She usually ran to the dairy when the baby was asleep during the day. Her husband works from home, he draws something for magazines on his computer. She went to the dairy and never came back. She was breastfeeding, which meant she couldn't leave the child for long. She took a trolley a few stops to the dairy, but she never got there. Where did she go? They've been looking for her for a year. Or here. Just like a detective novel. Two families in two cars going on vacation. A day on the road. They stayed overnight in a roadside hotel on the outskirts of town. Took 2 rooms for themselves. They woke up in the morning and one guy was gone. His wife and kids were asleep, tired from driving all day, and heard nothing. The receptionist on duty, girl, 20 years old, did not see anything. She admitted that she slept periodically, dozing in the back. The door to the hotel is not locked at night. Surveillance video cameras only watch the parking lot. He did not appear there. Car in the spot, cell phone, money, passport, and documents for the car left in the room, in the jacket. He left the room with his shoes on and no jacket. Most likely, he went out for a night smoke. No cigarettes were found in the room or car. We searched everything, the entire neighborhood. No one saw anything. More. The guy worked as a programmer at an office. Worked for a few years. Lived with his girlfriend in a civil marriage, meaning a man and a woman living together, even having children, but not being officially married. Bought a car on credit. He rented a place to live. Went out to lunch and no one else saw him. He left in his car for lunch. He usually went home, and never came back. He had been home. The girl he lived with said the dishes were dirty when she got home from work in the evening and the food was eaten. The car was never found. The man was cheerful, happy-go-lucky. Non-conflictual. He had no debts, except for a car loan. A most ordinary young man. The phone became out of range an hour after the lunch break. His boss called to find out why he was late from lunch. A police officer, a captain, was missing. All right, it wouldn't be a big deal if he disappeared when he was returning from work, from duty, from the reinforcement. We can assume that he bought a bottle of beer, met someone, etc. But no. In the morning he got on the train and drove to the office, to which he never reached. Everyone is on their ears, all the connections are worked out, everyone was interrogated. No one knows what and how. All the peddlers and cashiers at all the intermediate stations were questioned. He vanished into thin air. He was positively characterized in his service, with commendations, business trips to the Caucasus, etc. There are thousands and tens of thousands of such stories all over the country. Where do the people who can't be found go? These are assumptions that in some cases of finding people, living or dead, have been confirmed. Murder, corpse buried, burned, drowned, dismembered, etc. Kidnapping for slavery. Kidnapped for organs. Being held or forcibly taken out for prostitution. Being hit by a car, losing consciousness. And similar cases. That is, ridiculous accidents. My friend is an operative with almost 17 years of experience. He joined the police in the mid-90s. Statistics are the same then as now. For the country, he does not know what it was before, but for his department, it serves a territory with a population of 500,000 people, it is always the same. Roughly the same for 20 years. Because of the nature of his work, he sometimes travels around the country on business trips. The operators in the field also say that the number has always been about the same. But there was not such a number in the Soviet, the Soviet Union. He says that he already believes in aliens almost in earnest. Because people disappear who should not, there are no prerequisites for this. And the circumstances are such that the person has nowhere to go. And there are about 50,000 such cases in the country every year. 50,000 people, that is. Both men and women. And children and old people. Different nationalities. Different social statuses and income levels. I understand that these 50,000 people are a very small proportion compared to the loss of population of our country by 1 million people a year. But they are people, too. People who have been lost to family and friends, and no one knows what happened to them.